I will be whole. I wanna be, I gotta be made whole. I gotta be, it's time to be made whole. I'm gonna be, just wait and see. I will be whole.
Hello, I'm Dr. Tracee Perryman. Today, we look at the most serious part of wholeness for women like you and me. Since COVID, suicide rates for white Americans are down, but they have increased among African Americans. Why is that? And where are our tools for prevention? We're going to ask Valerie Kelley-Bonner. Valerie is a certified prevention consultant and founder of her own consulting firm. Valerie, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Tell me this first. We'd like to know a little more about your journey to becoming an expert in substance abuse prevention.
Well, I kind of stumbled upon it when I was looking for my calling. I have worked in the fields of engineering and in science, but I just didn't feel whole doing that because in that process, being the only Black and the only female, I often struggled with that and also struggled with my own mental health trying to fit in. So when I started looking at what is my purpose in life, that's how I stumbled across becoming a prevention consultant. My first experience, I had 120 inmates inside of Ryan Prison in Detroit. And as I aggregated the data down and had plenty of conversation with them, they let me know that if we had someone like you when we were in elementary school, we probably wouldn't be locked up. And as I delved further into that, I noticed that their traumatic experiences started when they were very young. Adverse childhood experiences, things that they were predisposed to in the development and gestation of their mom. And that's what led me on that journey to unravel that web of where does this stem from? And basically it goes back to slavery.
Absolutely. So tell me a little more about the services you provide under your prevention umbrella.
So basically, we do prevention services that break the school to prison pipeline. We have harm reduction services that include combating HIV. 4 of the cities that I work with outside of Wayne County in Detroit are 1/3 of the cases of HIV and Hep C within Wayne County, which is the largest county that we have in Michigan. But my baby and close to my heart is harm reduction. Harm reduction. And we practice harm reduction every day. You put your seatbelt on because you don't want to go through the windshield when you crash, but you don't go out and intentionally try to crash, right? And I haven't met a participant yet that said, well, when I was in the 5th grade, I said I wanted to be a drug addict. In kindergarten, when they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said a drug addict. Nobody says that. But because of the trauma, adverse childhood experiences, mental health undiagnosed, all of those things lead to substance use. And that's why harm reduction is very, very important. So that is near and dear to my heart.
I can feel it. I know in Ohio, there have been some initiatives geared towards designing substance abuse prevention services and outreach services that are supposed to engage people of color specifically. What suggestions do you have for our community-based agencies that want to better engage people of color?
Nothing for them without them. You don't know. And I'm going to say that again. Nothing for them without them because you don't know. And even if you have been a substance user before, everyone's case is different. So first of all, you need to include the community, and that's what I like to call them. They are their own community. You need to include them. Number 2, different is not less. And I'm going to say that again. Different is not less because they choose to do things differently, live their life differently, put different things in their body or whatever. That doesn't mean that they're less. So you need to know who your audience is. You need to include them in all of your decisions and nothing for them without them. You can't create laws, policies, programs, activities without the knowledge and the expertise of people who have the experience. Lived experience is important.
And I thank you for that because there are some who believe if they select or hand select people that appear to be from the same community or appear to share the same racial, ethnic, or cultural heritage, that they have done all the necessary work. And so I love what you said about individual differences and making sure that it is representative of the local community. You can't just put a same color face on an advertisement and think that you have reached the population of interest. So thank you for that. So then why don't providers include the community of choice in decision-making at every point?
Well, for me, and I can speak personally for that, it's tough because you have to have out-of-the-box thinking and out-of-the-box measures. But funders, policies, insurance companies, and everything put you in this box. And so they want you to come up with a different solution, but you can't have different methodology. And the problem for me is I'm good sitting at the table. I'm one of the ones that gets selected to sit at the table because I have the same skin color, and because I live in Detroit now. I'm from a suburb of Detroit, which is similar to Detroit. The problem becomes when their opinion doesn't come out of my mouth. Because when I sit at those tables, they're fine as long as their opinion comes out of my mouth. But if something else other than that comes out of my mouth, then that's a problem. But what I'm speaking for is from a foundation and a platform and a heart of the people, because I'm out there. I am the executive director and founder of my organization, but I do street outreach. I'm out there with the T-shirt on, with the needles, signing people up. I'm out there talking to the sex workers. I'm on the street because, again, nothing for them without them. I don't know. I don't know what they go through day to day. I don't know what their experiences are. So I hear from them. And when I sit at that table, I represent them. And that's the problem. A lot of people have good intentions, but then when they sit at the table, they no longer represent the communities that they're supposed to represent. Politicians are good for that, right? They sit at the table, but they no longer represent the people who they're supposed to represent when they're in that seat. And when you no longer do that, it becomes unpopular. And I will say that everything that's popular is not right.
That's right.
Everything that's popular is not right. So I will always stand 10 toes down, true to the people that I serve. I will speak my own opinion, and I will convey the thoughts of the people that I serve. When that occurs, I usually get eased to the side, but lately, not so much so. You know why? Because the CDC has requirements and they want these health departments to get outcomes. And I have been getting outcomes that they can't get because I'm in the street, and the people who are performing sex work and using drugs, they trust me. That's my family. And so I'm getting outcomes that they can't get. You know, we also have a faith-based component to our services. So people who believe, we tell them, you are loved and you are not forgotten. Jesus loved everybody. We pray with them. We'll break out in song with them. We allow them to sing on the street because you don't have to go in a building to congregate and show love. And so that's what makes our services out of the box, because we do things that other people will not do. We're out after 5 o'clock. We're out on the weekends, and we're listening because we truly believe in nothing for them without them, and different does not mean less.
Talk to people who are intimidated at tables because they're not the politician or the leader. And knowing who you represent and standing on that and speaking boldly is the key to developing your own presence. And you're right. A lot of times unpopular thought processes are marginalized until they're found to be effective. So thank you for sticking with it until the numbers lined up with what you already knew. Appreciate that.
You know, I think it makes it easier because I don't work for those agencies. By me founding my own agency, then I can stand on my own. I don't fear losing my job if I speak out, you know, and so many individuals fear that. Like, I have to feed my family. I don't want to lose my job. I've often said, take the funding back, because I'm not doing that. You know, my morals, values, and integrity become first, and I'm not going to do anything for a check or for funding. So I'm going to do it this way. or you can take the money back.
And see, that's patience, because even in starting your own business, sometimes the finances can be even more bleak and can be even more risky. So thank you for taking the risk financially to start your own business and having the courage to say no when it's inauthentic to the movement. Thank you. Let's talk about substance abuse, addiction, and suicide risk. Are you seeing some relationships between addiction and suicide risk?
I am. And it's very disheartening as a whole, but I'm seeing younger people doing it. I have participants that are under the age of 18 that's shooting fentanyl, that has a heroin fentanyl addiction. Untreated mental illness is the culprit. Many don't know what to do, especially in a Black community. You know, we used to go to the church for a lot. And I'm not discounting that. You know, God made man, man made medicine, and we need those people who have been anointed. I also think that people do not know what to expect if they do seek treatment. I tell them it's like going to the hairdresser. The first person that does your hair, you might not like it, right? So you're not going to continue to go to them. That's the same with treatment. You have to feel comfortable. After about 3 sessions, when you got all of the old stuff out, you should start to turn that corner. You know, but a lot of clinicians want to heavily medicate and do all of these things. And then the client is afraid to say, hey, well, I don't need your medicine. I already get high, because they don't want to lose their children. They don't want to lose their job. The stigma and the ostracization that's associated with just being transparent and honest with your clinician stops a lot of people from getting the mental health services that they want, which increases the suicide rate. Because if you don't know what to do and you can't do anything else, you just want to end it all, because you can't take it. Voices in your head. You know, some people are hearing that. Extreme depression. Some people go through that, and there's nowhere for them to turn if they feel like they can't trust the system or trust a clinician. And that is why we are seeing what we're seeing.
Wow. And you're so right. If you don't feel that you can be honest with your clinician, then the chances of change are certainly slimmer. Let's think about what we can do at home, especially when there is that cultural mistrust. What signs should women and women of color look for that may suggest that they are at risk for suicide?
You have to realize it is okay not to be okay. And I think as Black women, historically, even if we go back to slavery, we had to carry a lot. Watch our man be buck broken, you know, carry on with the family once our man is gone, auctioned off, or whatever happens. You bring that into, you know, the civil rights movement. Women still had to be very strong, right? We don't have to be that. If you are experiencing a mental health breakdown, it is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you have been strong too long. And it is okay not to be okay. So if you have thoughts that you cannot control, you have heart palpitations, shortness of breath, any of those things, get yourself checked out. Rule out the fact that nothing's wrong with your heart or anything else physically. And if nothing's wrong with your heart or anything else physically, then it's time to get a checkup within the mentality. And that's when your mental health becomes important. A lot of people don't want to take medication, and some of us don't have to. Medication can be just that bridge to stabilize you until you can get control of your thoughts, come up with cognitive behavioral therapy, meaning yoga, meditation, deep breathing, take a walk, listen to soft music, aromatherapy. Some of those things to just keep you centered. And once you become centered and you get that under control, set boundaries. You don't have to have an S on your chest. We are not super women. Just because you carry a lot doesn't mean it's not heavy. And when it gets heavy, baby, set that down and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anyone else. And I will reiterate, it is okay not to be okay.
Well, you've given us a number of nuggets. It's okay not to be okay. Different is not deficient. And then also all the practical strategies for making sure that our initiatives include the people that we are intending to serve and that they drive the priorities. So thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate being here. Thank you so much for having me, because this topic is very important. And I don't think we talk about it enough because it's taboo. Nobody wants to talk about not being okay. No one wants to bear it all and appear to be weak. And that's where those sayings come from. It is okay not to be okay. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Valerie offered us a number of practical strategies for recognizing warning signs. She reminded us women and service providers that it is okay to not be okay. When we are honest about our struggles, we are in a better position to advocate for and receive the help we need. On the next Elevating Wholeness, I'll talk with a leading psychologist who has great insight into not just why women of color should ask for help, but when. Our guest will be Dr. Beverly Vandiver, editor of the Journal of Black Psychology. See you again on Elevating Wholeness. This podcast series was funded by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and the Lucas County Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. Special thanks to Owens Community College for their support of this episode.